She told me she hated surprises. I remember the way she said it, so sharp and certain, like it was some unchangeable law of her universe. Please, no surprises. I don't like them. I like to know what's coming. I thought it was quirky at first, just another one of those little preferences you adjust to when you're with someone. Like how she couldn't stand cilantro, or how she always needed to sleep on the side of the bed nearest the window. But later I realized it wasn't quirks, it was control. She hated surprises because surprises reveal the truth, and truth was the one thing she couldn't manage. And me, I always told her I was predictable. She used to joke that I was boring stable, the guy who would never miss a bill, never forget to lock the door, never forget to bring an umbrella if the weather app showed even a 10% chance of rain. But what she didn't know was that I had one surprise she'd never see coming, one I had kept tucked away for years like an ace up my sleeve, the yacht. It wasn't something I bragged about, not because I was ashamed, but because I wanted to know who was with me for me, not for the glossy toys. My uncle left it to me when he passed. A modest yacht compared to the monsters you see docked in Monaco, but still large enough to draw gasps when people stepped aboard. I kept it quiet, refurbished it in silence, and occasionally used it for business or to clear my head. She didn't know about it. None of her friends did. That yacht was mine, my secret place, my reminder that sometimes life gave you cards you didn't have to play right away. And it's a good thing I kept it secret, because that secret became the stage where I caught her mid-affair, trapped in the very web she thought she spun so neatly. I'd had my suspicions for months. You know how it goes. Nights she came home late smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. Phone tilted away from me when she typed girls' trips that didn't add up with the photos she posted. The gut feeling grew louder each week, until it was impossible to ignore. I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I didn't want to be the fool who accuses without proof. But the more I pushed the doubts down, the more they clawed back. Then one night she slipped. We were having dinner, and her phone buzzed. She reached for it too quickly, eyes darting across the screen. I caught the name before she flipped it face down. Marcus. She laughed nervously when she saw my expression. Oh, he's just a client. He's married. Relax. She even touched my hand and added, don't be dramatic. But the way she smiled at that message wasn't how you smile at a client. It was the smile of someone touched where they weren't supposed to be touched. That was the moment I decided to stop doubting myself. I wasn't going to shout or accuse. I wasn't going to let her gaslight me with lines about being paranoid. I was going to catch her with my own eyes, in a way no one could deny. The yacht gave me the perfect plan. See, she told me she was going on a weekend retreat with some girlfriends. I played along, kissed her goodbye, wished her fun, and let her walk out the door thinking I was clueless. But I'd already seen the messages. Marcus, Dock 12, Saturday, a yacht party. She thought I didn't know about that world, that I didn't move in those circles. What she didn't know was that my yacht was docked just 4 slips down from his. So I set the stage. I had my crew keep the yacht spotless, ready at a moment's notice. I had cameras positioned discreetly. I even stocked the fridge with champagne, because if I was going to reveal my hand, I was going to do it with style. And then I waited. That Saturday I arrived early. I stayed low, blending in with the marina staff, cap pulled low over my face, and then I saw her, my wife, dressed in a sundress I'd bought her on our anniversary trip, hair curled just the way I liked it. Except she wasn't walking toward me. She was walking toward Marcus, and the way she touched his arm, the way she leaned into him, it was intimate in a way that made my blood boil. She hadn't just cheated, she'd rehearsed, she'd prepared, she'd chosen him over me in ways I hadn't even realized. They boarded his yacht, laughing, holding hands. I followed quietly, slipping onto mine. From my vantage point I could see across the decks. I watched them pour drinks, watched her laugh that laugh she used to save for me, watched her disappear into the cabin with him, and something inside me broke, not loudly, but cleanly, like glass snapping in half. But here's the thing, I didn't storm over, I didn't drag her out by the arm, I didn't punch Marcus in the face. That's what she'd expect, that's what would make me look dramatic. Instead I called a favor from the harbor master. 15 minutes later, Marcus's yacht was moved for an inspection, straight into my line, docked side by side with mine. When they came back up on deck, flushed and smug, they weren't laughing anymore. Because there I was, standing on my yacht, champagne in hand, smiling. She froze, her mouth dropped open. Marcus squinted, confused. Surprise, I said, my voice calm, almost cheerful. You told me you hated surprises. Funny how that works, huh? The color drained from her face. She stammered, tried to say it wasn't what it looked like. But Marcus's hand was still on her waist. Her lipstick was smudged. There was no spin big enough to cover what was obvious. And that was just the beginning. Because the real surprise wasn't me catching her on his yacht. It was me inviting her, right then, to step aboard mine, to see the life I'd kept hidden. The one she never thought I was capable of. The one that showed her just how badly she'd underestimated me. That's where I'll pause for now. because the moment she stepped onto my yacht, the whole story flipped. The woman who thought she had all the control realized she'd been living in my shadow the whole time, and what unfolded on those decks was nothing short of a reckoning. Part 2. I can still see her face when I said that word. Surprise. She'd always claimed she hated surprises, but the truth was she only hated the ones she couldn't control. And standing there on my yacht, champagne in hand, grinning like the calmest man alive, I had become her worst nightmare. She didn't step aboard at first. She froze on Marcus's deck, eyes wide, mouth open, staring at me like she'd seen a ghost. Marcus, poor fool, had no idea what was going on. He looked at her, then at me, confused but trying to puff his chest like a man who wasn't just caught mid-affair with another man's wife. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. I raised my glass, calm as ever. "I'm her husband, and this," I gestured around me, the polished rails gleaming, the name of the yacht etched in gold on the stern, "this is mine." Marcus's bravado cracked right there. He took his hand off her waist. She staggered, like the ground beneath her had shifted, and for the first time, I watched her lose control. "Why didn't you tell me you?" she stammered, pointing at the yacht, at me, at everything. I cut her off. "Because you told me you hated surprises. I thought I'd give you one worth remembering." And that was when I did the thing she never expected. I invited them both aboard. "Come on," I said smoothly, "let's talk like adults. Unless of course you're scared of a little honesty." They hesitated, but curiosity, or maybe arrogance, pulled them over. Marcus followed behind her, trying to act like he wasn't sweating bullets. She stepped onto my deck like someone walking into a courtroom, every step slower than the last. Inside, I'd staged it perfectly. Lights low, champagne chilled, a spread of food laid out as if I were hosting a celebration. I even had the camera discreetly rolling, because I knew whatever happened here, I wanted a record. We sat, or rather, I sat. They stood, shifting awkwardly, waiting for me to erupt, but I didn't. I poured myself another glass, let the silence stretch, let their nerves gnaw at them, until finally she broke. "This isn't what it looks like," she blurted. I laughed, cold and sharp. "Really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like what it is. You telling me you're on a girls' trip. You climbing onto another man's yacht. You letting his family call you future wife, and you thinking I'd never find out." Marcus flinched. "Wait, wife, you didn't tell me you were married." The color drained from her face. She tried to backpedal, words tumbling out in half lies, half apologies. "It wasn't serious. It was complicated. You don't understand." I leaned forward, cutting her off. "No, I understand perfectly. You wanted safety with me, and excitement with him. Stability on one side, thrills on the other. You thought you could juggle both without consequence. But here's the thing about balance. It tips eventually, and tonight it tipped." She crumbled then, tears spilling down her cheeks, mascara smearing. She reached for me, desperate, pleading. "Please, I messed up, I was scared. I didn't mean." I pulled back, letting her hand hang in the air. "You didn't mean to get caught. That's what you didn't mean." Marcus had had enough. He muttered something under his breath, shot her a look of disgust and walked out. Left her there, abandoned on the deck of the yacht she never knew existed, facing the man she thought was boring, predictable, safe, the man who had just blindsided her with the one thing she hated most, the truth. I didn't shout. I didn't throw her overboard like some cheap movie script. I just let her sit there, sobbing, while I calmly sipped my champagne, and when she finally looked up, begging for another chance, I gave her the final blow. "You told me you hated surprises, but the truth is, you just hate being exposed. And tonight, you're exposed to me, to him, to yourself, and nothing you say will cover that." I stood then, walked her to the edge of the deck, and opened the gangplank. "Go," I said simply. "Go to your surprises. I'm done being one of them." She stumbled off, mascara running, dress wrinkled, heels clicking unsteadily against the dock. Alone, the silence after she left was deafening. But it wasn't painful, it was liberating. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt calm, because I realized something powerful. Betrayal only has power when you stay in the dark. Shine a light on it, and the liar shrivels. The yacht became my sanctuary after that. Not just because it was mine, but because it symbolized what she never understood: patience, control, and the element of surprise. She spent her life trying to manipulate narratives, but in the end, her own story collapsed the moment someone else wrote the ending. And me, I came out not bitter, but sharper, stronger, because I learned that the best revenge isn't anger, it's composure. It's standing on your own deck, glass in hand, while the person who thought they had all the control walks away with nothing. She told me she hated surprises. Turns out the biggest surprise of her life was me.